So the macroeconomic objective of inflation. What does it mean? We will look at the definition of inflation and contrast it with deflation and disinflation in this video. So, low and stable rate of inflation is a macroeconomic objective. Most governments would keep it around 2 to 3%. So inflation is measured as a percentage. When we compare it with the previous year, we look at the inflation rate and we say that there has been a positive percentage change in the rate of inflation, right? Which means that there's a sustained increase in the general price level. Now, what is the meaning of general price level? General price level because we're looking at the average of the prices of all the goods and services used in the economy. Now, the prices of some of these goods may have increased, the prices of some of these goods may have decreased, but in general, if there is overall an average, you take an average of all those goods and services prices, and if you see that there is an increase, then we say that there is inflation. There's a sustained increase in the general price level, which is shown by a positive percentage change. The triangle is the delta, which represents change. Deflation, on the other hand, shows a decrease in price level. It's a sustained decrease in the general price level. Now, the word sustained means it is maintained over a period of time, and it's not just a fluctuation. That could mean a year, right? 6 months is a good time, a year is a good time. So year-on-year inflation, quarterly inflation, half-yearly inflation rates, all of these are good ways to see whether there's a sustained increase or a sustained decrease. Now, disinflation, on the other hand, is not a decrease in the general price level. That's deflation. Disinflation, the word shows there is inflation, but this just shows that the inflation is at a lower rate. So there's still inflation happening, it's just at a lower rate. So maybe if last year the inflation was 7% in a country, and this year it is, 6.8%. So there's still inflation. It's positive value, but it's just lower than the previous year, which shows there's disinflation. However, if it is a negative value, which it will show a decrease in the general price level. So it's a negative percentage change from the previous year. Deflation is not very common, which is why you probably don't hear it much in the news, but it is not desirable as well. We are going to look at that in another video. We'll look at, the consequences of deflation, etc. This was just to get those definitions out of the way to understand them. Now, one way to remember the difference between deflation and disinflation, because this might lead to some confusion, is deflation is a decrease in the price level, whereas disinflation is a decrease in the rate of inflation. That is how much inflation is happening. If that rate is decreasing 7%, 5% the next year, so there's still an inflation, there's still a positive value of 5%, but it is lower than a positive value of 7%. So that's disinflation. Okay, for measuring inflation, or for that matter deflation, something called the consumer price index has to be calculated. So it's important to know the definition of this. It is basically a measure of the cost of living for the typical household and compares the value of the basket of goods and services in one year with the value of the same basket in the base year. So what this means is that a typical household is taken, and in that typical household there is certain types of goods and services that are used, right? And those goods and services are given certain weights based on how much of it is used. So how many haircuts has that family taken? How many, movies have they seen? How many sanitizers do they buy? How many burgers are they consuming? So things like that. So that typical household, what is their spending, okay? And then it will measure the cost of living. How it does that is that it will compare what was the value of that basket in 1 year compared to the value of that basket of goods and services in the base year. So the base year is decided beforehand. It could be, the base year could be 5 years previous, or it could be a 2-year previous, whatever it is, that's decided. So in the next video, we'll look at how to calculate the inflation rate based on the consumer price index. This one was a short one just to get those definitions clear. Thank you.